All right, good afternoon. It is
Good
4:50.
afternoon.
It is 4:50 on November 4th, 2025. This is the Indian River School NAACP work group meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. The next agenda item is discussion regarding transportation. Dr. Shafty, I'm going to hand it off to you to introduce our school board representative here to speak to that issue.
So Miss Christofoli is here. I know that there was an additional data request, so we wanted to clearly understand what that request is so we could address it and fulfill it.
Good evening.
All right, so Jody or Adrienne, I know we got a request and I had responded to your request for additional information, but if you'd like to maybe explain it in more detail so that we can figure out what to do with that additional data request, Ms. Christofoli is the person that might be able to help us with that.
Yeah, so our request was, as it relates to KPI 8.12, documents relating to manifestation hearings, CERT hearings, SERT hearings, and parent conferences held in connection with disciplinary events that occurred on buses.
Okay, and what, just thinking out loud, we've already gone over a lot of high level data as it relates to KPI 8.12. What is the thought for why these other issues, which are necessarily student level, impact or otherwise influence the work group's job to evaluate compliance with Section 812?
I think there was a recent issue that's come up. And so with that, the process of disciplinary action has become something that we were interested in and wanted to better understand the process for disciplinary conduct on the buses and following incidents on the buses, and records of how that process is followed through with.
Okay, what recent issue has come up?
There has been a number. So there's been a number of disciplinary complaints that have been filed with the NAACP, and the NAACP has been in contact with the district. So we just wanted to understand the process of how it works and to get that data.
All right, so that's a little bit different than what you asked for, right? And even then, it's outside the scope of the joint plan.
Hold on, wait a minute, because it's not. If we're
It's
looking
not.
at discrimination, anything pertaining to discrimination is within the scope of the joint plan. So let's not do that, Matt. Let's not
Well,
do that today.
Do what?
Let's not lie. Do that. Let's not lie and say something is outside the scope when it's clearly within the scope.
And Matt, just to back it up, one of the district employees stated with data that 88% of disciplinary problems on the school buses are African American, and with the 24% ridership, and now we're finding out it can be even worse because the data is not reflecting some stuff relative to what Ms. Michon just stated, where we have recent incidents that are not being put into a data process, and we're trying to find out what is the process, because we're being given different stories. Oh, this is code of conduct, this is this, different stuff. We want to know in a narrative form based on data, how is this process done? how do you go about dealing with these issues, and how do you do the data process?
And
Okay,
how
so
do you respect the right, and also how do you respect the 504 protections of students with disabilities? Because that is also the highlight of what we've been encountering. Parents of students with disabilities are not having their students' rights protected. Now, if you can show us data otherwise and talk about your process, which I think is extremely important to discuss, because what we're coming across is concerning, and also your departments. The school district departments are not aligning with what they're saying the process is. We have one department saying one thing, another department saying another, and then parents receiving treatments that is totally different than what both departments have said. So,
And just as it relates to section or to KPI 8.12, you know, we are evaluating the, like, I mean, just reading it here, a consistently applied procedure and manifestation hearings, we understand, are part of the disciplinary procedure or come into play as it relates to discipline if a student has a disability. So that is our basis for asserting that it falls within the joint plan and the KPI, because the manifestation hearing is part of the applied procedure.
okay. So I was interrupted, and then it was a 5-minute soliloquy by 3 different people. And there's really no way for me to respond to all of that. It's impossible. And so,
Well, Matt,
well, and there it is again. So
are you hurting
here's
your feelings tonight, Matt? Are we gonna be able to have a conversation relative to our concerns, or are you gonna narrate the whole process with the school board people sitting on the sideline? Mashawn and myself, we've been talking, and we have some issues because you have an employee that states that being on the bus, a 504 and an IEP is not relevant. So we need some understanding.
Can I speak?
It's America, it's a free country.
So here's the issue. The work group is tasked with determining compliance and progress with the 2018 joint plan. Now I'm hearing that members of the work group are gathering information from outside unknown sources and bringing them to the table and saying, we have more questions now because of what we're doing outside of our work as members of the work group, which is what I was going to ask next. Who told you 88% of bus ridership discipline is connected to African American riders?
you all did. You all gave us that data, that 88% of the suspensions off the bus were African-American students. You all did. We talked about this the last 2 meetings. Now, what I want to understand is why is there an issue that we can't just us discussing, because we are trying to work in partnership, right? We should be able to bring our issues to you and say, listen, this is what we're getting from parents. These are the complaints that we're getting. These are the situations that we're seeing play out with the district. If we can't bring it to the district, then where should we go? To legal?
Well, no, you can absolutely bring it to the district, and all of those parents have due process rights for everything you've described, outlined in federal and state law. My
Let's
point,
stop there for a moment,
okay.
because you're speaking in theory.
I'm not speaking in theory. I'm
yes,
speaking.
you are. Yes, you are. You guys say that there's due process, that there are
Procedural
504
safeguards,
protections,
absolutely.
but there's a difference between actually applying the due process and protecting the rights, as opposed to just stating that they have it, but we're not seeing it. Because right now, with the situation that we have, we're not seeing due process for this student. And we're going to meet with the principal, but there has not been any due process. And basically, principal has just straight out said, student is guilty and mom just has to deal with it. But there has been no evidence provided, which is one of the situations that, I mean, we'll get to it with the principal. But to hear it, we continually hear you say that something is happening because it is the law. And we all know just because something is the law does not make it true that it is being applied or it is being protected. And yes, I did interrupt you, but sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Marshawn. So the issue is this: if any one of these parents have this issue, they absolutely have procedural safeguards. Whether or not we tell them they do, which we should, and I believe we do, they have them. They're available to them. And the fact that they come to you and you say, we are going to be speaking with the principal, means there is a process in place. I have been speaking with my client, and it is the district's position that those types of challenges, student-specific challenges, are not within what the work group is tasked with doing.
So
Can I speak, Matt?
Can I speak for a moment?
go ahead, Tony.
So on this point, I just want to refer directly to the KPI that we agreed on and that we filed with the court. I'm going to read it for the record or for the transcript, whatever we're calling it. It's 8.12. It says the district shall ensure that any student disciplinary action related to behavior on school buses should be based on a consistently applied procedure that ensures non-discriminatory outcomes, and shall record and maintain all disciplinary infractions and punishments by racial subgroup, school grade, and transportation professional. And what we have on the data sets that have been provided is the parent handbook and school bus transportation document. And so I think what we're asking for is the data to support both sides of this, right? I read this as two parts. One is the process. What is your process for discipline? Can we understand that? We understand what's in the handbook. Is that being applied? And is it being applied consistently? And to understand that, we need to see the data to see that it is being applied consistently. And the second part of it is that the records should be maintained as it relates to disciplinary infractions. So how can the work group vote on section 8.12 if they don't have the data to analyze whether the district is complying with this KPI?
So there's two things there, right? You want to see that the disciplinary records are being maintained.
Yes, we would like to see, well, we would like to understand what the process is. We would like to see the records that support that process is being complied with.
Okay,
the
so
first part.
that's something different. So the documents being maintained. I mean, other than what, letting you poke around a school database to see that they're maintained? I mean, how else do we show that? Just looking at the first thing you asked for, making sure that these documents are maintained.
Well, I guess being able to provide them, right? Well, that's what we all agreed to. You shall record and maintain all disciplinary infractions and punishments by racial subgroup, school grade, and transportation professional.
Right.
So is it your position that we're not entitled to see that? You're just required to maintain it. We don't get to see it and analyze whether those documents support that you're in compliance under 8.12.
No, we do maintain it. My question to you is, what do you need to see? Do you actually need to look in a database to see that we have these records? To be
Well,
comfortable?
previously, I don't know how you maintain them, but previously what you've provided to us has been a version or a copy of how you maintain it. So we've seen Excel spreadsheets, we've seen,
Right.
kind of copies or images of what sometimes they're snapshots that are embedded into a Word document. So it varies depending on what it is that you're providing. I don't know exactly how you maintain this, what platform is being used. So I can't speak to the proper mechanism of showing it to us.
Okay.
But that's part of the question that we
Right.
have. And that I think would be helpful to explain is how is it maintained? Where is it maintained?
Right. Okay, so that's one thing. Let's get to the second thing. You asked for manifestation hearings. Do you know what those are?
Just based
Yeah.
on what I've read.
Okay,
We know,
so,
Yeah, the
so,
team
I mean,
knows.
your client knows, right? A kid, gets, disciplined and asks for a manifestation hearing to determine if the behavior, if the action was a manifestation of their disability or not. Those are all conducted with, within a protocol that's dictated by state and federal law. What do you want to see?
So for example, our understanding is that the process is if there's a disciplinary action on the bus, that action, if it's a second offense, is then referred to the administration to make a determination of whether some discipline has to be imposed. Step one, is that accurate?
Somebody else could speak to that.
Ask your question again, Jody.
So my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because this is what we're trying to get a better understanding of. But my understanding is that if there is a disciplinary action on or disciplinary conduct on the bus, conduct that would rise to the level of necessitating discipline, that the bus driver, if it is a second infraction or something that requires immediate discipline, refers it to the administration. And the administration then reviews the data, reviews the evidence, whatever it is, and then makes a determination of what has to happen next.
Correct.
Okay, so step one is refer to administration.
Right. And I think the code is codified within the code. The process that you're asking for is codified within the code of conduct. So I
Okay.
think that, and wasn't there on the data set, didn't we provide a dashboard, a copy of the dashboard that had the discipline, Kira? Or no?
Yes, it is a screenshot. Jody's correct, but the reason it's a screenshot is because
It's a live
that
dashboard.
dashboard pulls into a live dashboard from multiple sources, including the student information system. But that would be, the dashboard has source data that pulls into it from varying places. And it's internal due to the nature of the data. So it's not one of our public facing dashboards just because it's student level.
And
So
Dr. Jeff,
if the code of conduct codifies the process, and I get that screenshot captures the requested data, is that the information being submitted to represent the process as well as the data in 8.12? And I get it, there's a specific issue that we're in the middle of dealing with, and I know, Tony, I don't know who's meeting with us, but we're on the books for next week. I don't know if that's for that process or not. So I think we have to let that process play out in terms of what's going on or is not going on, and then get a clear explanation of the procedures that were followed. And speaking with the district support team, I think that process is in fact in place. So setting that aside and looking at the big scope of the work, here that's our position, that those two documents satisfy the information to make a determination regarding 8.13, 14, whatever this one is.
So we have the parent handbook, the student code of conduct in 8.12, and then in 8.14 is a spreadsheet that includes tabs, average distance by school, by race, by school, count of riders, that count of students with transportation data by race and average school distance, count of ODRs, which will be our discipline referrals.
Is it filtered by race? But that's within the requirement. Can it be
Yep.
filtered by school grade? I mean, that's just, here's a school grade. I don't know why we even put that in there, but we did. So it is what it is. What was the other ones?
Count of discipline code.
By employee or driver.
That's just the
Could be done
codes.
by route, maybe.
Um,
If you have discipline by route, by default, probably
I'm
90%.
sure the dashboard is based on our dashboards, considerably more robust. You have discipline by transportation professional, which has
Perfect. No,
the
that is the request. So we then, if we have that, good. Is that public facing or no?
no, because it's no, because of the level of data in this particular dashboard.
But do the screenshots provide for, if we took it step one by one, professional?
I have it
That's-
blurred in what we provided, so I can share my screen if that's helpful.
I mean, we should, yeah, I mean, that's fine, but if we haven't provided it by, here's A, the discipline by professional, B, here it is by race, and then here are the list of the school grades. I mean, what else is missing within that indicator?
So I think that's the second part of the of what we're looking at in terms of the disciplinary infractions and punishments. The first part of it is the consistently applied procedure. I think that's what we're really trying to drill down on, is that what is the procedure to discipline, including out of school suspensions, and how are those applied, and how are those procedures applied in such a way that they are resulting in this number that seems to be disproportionately affecting African American students. So Kevin, let Kevin interrupt here.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Good morning, or whatever time it is. Good evening. We've had, let's take manifestation determination hearings. At Wabasso, we were there and participated in one, and the team decided that the disability did cause the action, and it was still tried to be pushed to cert, and we had to sign individually and a right. We do not want this to go to cert because it's a manifestation of the disability, which everybody around the table, principal and everyone else, had decided that yes, it was a manifestation. Then you get to Vero Beach High School, and a member of the Vero Beach High School staff tells us that, oh, you're not allowed to participate in this. You don't have a say in the manifestation disability hearing. And this was one of the individuals who is alleging the action that the student took. But it obviously, and then that individual says that it happened on the bus. So it doesn't affect his disability. So his disability applies in school, but not on the bus. So those right there are two different applications of the manifestation disability hearing, and pretty significant for, I don't know if it's training, I don't know what it is, if it's what would cause that type of thing to happen. And yes, Matt has talked about the process, and there is a process and there's something in place. How many years does it take to get when you have a student out of school going on? One student was arrested for over 10 days. The other student out of school for a number of time, for a number of days, and missing work. And some of these students that we've run into it's an AP student, no significant disciplinary history, about to graduate or in a senior year, and is treated like like they've been pushing people off a train. So there is.
So I think when you
some
look at the
treatment.
process, just responding to what you said, Kevin, in the scenarios in the school in which you described. So Wabasso, probably emotional disability, something beyond a specific learning disability, dyslexia. So it is very hard to talk generalities regarding a team decision, because the first thing that team is going to look at is the actual disability itself. It's going to look at what's within the IEP, Sometimes the disability is going to overlap into the bus. Other times it's not going to overlap into the bus because it's simply just a auditory processing disorder. So the specific ones, I want to encourage us, and we have been really, really good without attorneys. Sorry, guys. Sitting down and looking at these specifics, whatever they may be, and figuring out what the issue is. And, you know, not having the specifics regarding this specific case or the case at Wabasso, and in the midst of a process at Vero Beach Senior High School, puts staff, myself in a disadvantage because we don't have the specifics who have the intimate knowledge. But in terms of
Krista Foley does. Krista Foley is, we've talked to her, so I think she's aware.
I'm aware of the case. I am not aware of the specifics as if I did the referral or processed it. And thank you, Rashawn, because I was glad you emailed and encouraged Ms. Finnegan to reach back out to you, and just want to make sure we were following our processes when you said, you know, I want to speak on behalf of the parent. I just want to make sure we had the parents' permission. That's why I said, hey, please let them reach out. You know, so I'm glad you're having that meeting and that's set up so that there's some closure to that situation.
So I just want to get us back on task. We have a good track record of dealing with those specifics, collecting all of the information in terms of what I think our principals are doing, in terms of making sure that team decisions are being made in the best interest of the individual child, the system as a whole. I think they're acting in the best interest of children, regardless of what the color of their skin is, and punishing students and holding them accountable for the collective expectations defined within the code of conduct. Whether it happens on the bus or whether it happens in a classroom. And I don't think that the data is what the data is. And I've always said that, you're punished based on your behavior, regardless of your
So we'll have to kind of disagree with that because we've gotten other information that there was other parties involved that were not disciplined, but we could talk about that offline.
Yeah, and I just don't have those specifics.
But can you understand why seeing 3 different situations, all involving kids with disabilities in the last month, would raise some concern for us who are safeguarded with ensuring and advocating on behalf of the African-American students in Indian River County? I know Matt seems to not understand it, but for you, Dr. Moore.
So the best way for me to respond to that is to say, do I understand the position you're taking with the information that you have? Absolutely. Yeah. Heck
Okay.
Yeah. Advocate away. On the flip side, and I don't have all of the information, every time we come together and we look at, the system that was followed, the due process that was given, as we collect all of the information, almost every single time, almost 99.9999% of the times, the procedure process was followed, it was given. In my mind, it's just a matter of going through and saying, all right, this was done. And when you're in the midst of problems, a lot of times all of the information or the understanding of the process from the parent's perspective is just not available. But
Dr. Moore, if I may, Jody read that KPI. I sat in on all of these manifestations. What she's asking for, you cannot receive from what your employees did in those manifestations. They did not follow. I mean, pie in the sky, what you would have hoped them to have done, they altered those manifestations in accordance in what they wanted, not in the best interest of the child. And when we have the opportunity, but we cannot vote on a KPI that is so defined that we sat in the room for in excess of an hour. for Mashawn and I, these are not our first manifestations, not our first MDRs. We go way back. IEP hearings, you name it. But to sit in there and see the process manipulated and somewhat orchestrated when we are supposed to sign off on this KPI and we know in reality it did not occur, it could not occur, and the data could not be processed sufficiently to define what is in that KPI. And that's the reality.
I was hoping that Denny would be here today because I don't like to talk about people behind their backs. Denny was in that meeting when they did the manifestation hearing. There were the professionals there, the counselors, psychologists, whoever. They were in there.
Sean, you got muted.
After mom discussed the situation and talked about what happened, the professionals said that this can go either way. We can rule that this is related to his disability. Denny interjected himself and said that one, it cannot rule that way because it happened on the bus. It did not happen in the classroom. And that's when Tony said, so you mean to tell me that when a student gets on the bus, they're not in the custodial control of the district? So that was the first thing. And then the second thing was, how can you separate the disability from the student just because of the location? So when you say that you're almost positive 99% of the time that students' rights are protected and that is just a misunderstanding on behalf of the parent, I mean, I have to say, no, I don't agree with that. I would also have to say that it does bring into question for us because what we receive from you is the data that you give us. Our knowledge of your processes is what you tell us. So when we finally have real life experiences and situations with parents filing complaints and we go sit in these meetings and we talk to the administrators and we hear what they call due process, like we have to say, is it a training issue? Is it a person issue? Like, what is it? Because it is not aligning with what we're being told and led to believe. And so that's why we asked Jody to ask for more information and for this to be a conversation today, because we have to go to the community and say, listen, we're working together. The district is doing the best they can. This is the information we received and advocate on your behalf. But we can't go out there advocating when parents are providing us and students are providing us with data and a narrative that conflicts with what we're being told.
You're talking about issues that are one specific issue that you're referring to. The WABASO may be a separate issue. And once again, if we had all of the information to go through and say, okay, which I look forward to doing, chapter 2, this was the process, this was the behavior, this is the decision that was made, reserved perfect for Jesus. But above and beyond that, it is taking all of the information in context. And in terms of making sure that we are common and consistent, at the end of the day, every single administrator in this district knows that, I work for students. The school board may sign my evaluation. They may allow me to continue to be employed, but I work for students. So I don't know that based on the information that we have, I think we provided information. There's a specific incident that is a narrative that's not aligned to the data that we have, the process which is captured. Jody, I'll have to think through the procedure, because what you're really asking is what's the procedure, not necessarily the progressive discipline, because you have the progressive discipline. What you're looking for is when in the midst of a MDR or a manifestation, what is the procedural process that's followed in order to make that team decision, not an administrative decision, a team decision, and when is it applicable and when is it not, and it is different given the disability within the scenario or the setting in which the student is. We don't have that information. So so we're not ready to vote on that one, because if we did, it would be a no. So let's not have that vote. And then, but before we meet again, we'll have the opportunity to sit and go through these specific incidents with all of the information being available to both sides to explain the rationale, or and say, you know what, this was a shift or a change of something that we made because something shouldn't have happened. So
can I ask a question? Are the manifestation hearings recorded? Are the manifestation determination, like the review, is it recorded?
no.
Okay.
And Dr. Moore, one last thing. In that manifestation, it was stated that the code of conduct and the state demands a 10-day suspension. But two administrators, and I asked the question, is there any flexibility? The answer was no, 10 days. But in the same scenario, Dr. Moore, two administrators prior to that say, if you snitch on the other kids, we'll only give you 5 days. This is the stuff that is problematic to us. When we look at 812 as it's written here, that all of us could see, and all of this foolishness is going on in a manifestation hearing. That is part of what we're going to talk to you about. But this is something, irregardless to what Matt is saying, I'm reading the KPI and I'm telling you what transpired. And we got 3 different events, and none of those 3 events can validate what's written on this paper.
Understood. Understood. So we'll problem solve those.
All right. It's 5:27. I know we're coming up on a hard stop at 5:30 for my folks. And so do we have time to look at a date in December to meet? Hopefully
Yes.
for
Yes, here.
at least a full 2 hours.
That would be helpful.
Okay. You want me to just throw one out?
Yeah, I
Right.
think you guys have the busier schedules.
Yeah, I was going to say, Dr. Moore, is he gone?
I think he bailed.
Yeah,
No,
shoot.
I didn't. I was just trying to
All
tell
right.
Dr. Moore, do you want to look at your calendar? You're the one.
I was just telling my wife to get ready, so we leave on time. I have to show her a picture of you, Jody, because every time I feel like
You muted yourself.
Maybe for good reason.
I did. Yeah, I probably was. I was making a joke. That as I said it, it wasn't very funny. Wait.
We do, unfortunately or fortunately, Adrian and I have a ton of depositions in December all over the country. So we will have a very busy schedule, but to the extent it's remote, and at this time, we'll do our best to accommodate whatever date works for the team.
What about just throwing it out there? Whole code of. What about Wednesday, December 10th? Or 11th?
I don't see an immediate conflict.
The 10th works better, I think, for our deposition schedule, Jody. And we'll just make sure that our travel does not interfere with that. So if we could get the 10th.
All right, 10th it is. We will
Nailed
lock it
down.
in. It's not a Tuesday, so we're good with the chair.
What time?
Can we do 4:30?
4:30, yeah, 4:30,
6:30?
6:30. Yep,
4:30 to 6:30? Perfect.
perfect.
Yeah,
Perfect.
too late.
From 4 to 4:50.
All right, now I
Sorry?
am
Somebody
I
said
teach a
something.
class- I teach a class from 4 to 4:50. So
Oh,
I'm not available
4:50.
until 4:50
on the, wait a minute, that was,
on Wednesdays.
That's the chairman, right? Well, 450 to 650.
There you go. That works for me too.
That's fine.
Yep.
Or how about 5 to 7? Give her 10 minutes to get done with
Yeah,
her
yeah.
class.
She'll be walking good by then, so it should be fun. All right, five it is.
All
5
right.
to 7.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Off to the
All right.
next. Thank you, guys, and thank you for accommodating our schedule.
All right.
So quick
5:30.
question, Dr. Moore.
Okay.
All right.
Quick question, right quick. We're hearing and getting calls that the district is planning to change schools around and routes will change and all this other stuff, turn Gifford into a magnet. And we think that's going to have some significant effects on how we look at transportation and how we and school placements and everything else. But we have not heard anything officially. And matter of fact, we've been told that like Oslo's going to the Freshman Learning Center, and your team has visited. I think they said Bruce Green, Kelly Basur, Beth Hofer, and telling the schools what's going to happen. So at your convenience, could we get an update on that? And how do you think that is going to affect what we're doing here now? Because how can we vote on anything transportation if we don't know what transportation is going to look like?
Well, in the midst of transportation, yeah, we are in the process of innovating this school system to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all kids. Our goal wasn't just to be number 5, it's to be number 1, and it's to increase and maintain enrollment, while at the same time ensuring we're being fiscally responsible with the dollars that we have. So I have visited 7 different campuses. I've met with 6 different parent groups of those particular schools. Next week, I'll be doing 5 or 6 different town hall meetings. And over the course of the next 4 weeks, I'll be doing at least 2 or 3 very school site specific town hall meetings to kind of go through what the impacted changes are. At the end of the day, you know, a lot of those, I don't recall all the things that you said, but it is a conversation regarding using our facilities in a very, very responsible way. And yes, we definitely do need to look at transportation, and I think all of these moves will help with transportation.
And now I'm just wondering if we become a part of that, because I know with the DSEG order from the beginning, it was facilities in there that was supposed to be discussed, as well as all of these areas. So, and I know we have partial unitary status on facilities and everything, but when the facilities totally change, isn't that something to discuss? And I'm sorry, my camera's off because
I will discuss with anybody who will listen. So, I mean, we have a meet on the books next week, so we can not hash that out, but we can go over all of that.
Yeah, hopefully you think of us more than anybody willing to listen. We're in an agreement together, and so that being said, thank you.
All right. It's 5:33. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks, y'all.